A Moonlit Path by Alicia Ruva. Chapter 1. A tiny house on the lower horn of the crescent. Sometimes it happens as soon as all cats fall asleep covering their muzzle under their left paw, a new moon dives into the ocean to wash off the stardust and have a rest. By the way, that is exactly the stardust that makes all the wonders of this world happen. So if you are ever lucky enough to see a falling star, then be sure to open your pocket in time for a pinch. Most likely at least some of it will get there. On the lower horn of the crescent, in a small purple house with a colored tiled roof, lives the keeper of the moon named Ray. He is either young, old, full of strength, then empty. Nevertheless, there are only three things that don't change his nature. Ray never moves or has a sleepover anywhere but home. Every day he hugs a tree, which he cares for and will always do because it is the soul of the moon. It even has its own name, Lunula. Yes, it is exactly the name, not the title or name of the soulless object. But for the reason all trees are alive and quite have the right to their own name and even their surname. Its leaves grow as fast as fire sparks rip off the delicate branches and scatter by the solar wind wave. Soon the new ones grow in their place and everything resumes its natural course. The smoke of these leaves is white and clear. A bag of this kind of smoke can easily cure any sickness. Ray is faithful to his heart, which is full of love for the keeper of the ocean, Droplet. She has such tenderness and depth in her eyes with millions of shades of emerald and aquamarine. Her hair is black amber and her skin is as white as ocean foam. She always visits him, but she never stays. This is probably the end of Ray's list of constants, although, who knows, life often drives decisions that are completely opposite to our habits. The stove is stocked with leaves in the house, therefore it is always warm and cozy there. Ray loves the window so much that he has a small cute window even in the front door. That window shines like a lighthouse to travelers. It is nice to know there is a place in the expanses of the universe where the host is glad to guests, where it smells like pastries and everyone looks forward to hot tea and a good-sized piece of plum pie. One night, when the crescent sank into the ocean, the northern lights flared up in the sky, and this story began. "Are you here?" Droplet asked in a whisper, draining the oars. "I am," Ray answered quietly and lit a garland through which the guest climbed into the house. "I am so happy to see you." Droplet didn't like the stairs and preferred anything but them. There was a bubbly kettle on the table covered with a living tablecloth, a dish with cheese sandwiches, a plate of eclairs, a bowl of strawberries, and a couple of cups with pretty blue flowers. "I brought raisins," Droplet smiled and put the ladle back on the table. Ray handed her a vinyl record. "Do you want to hear this?" Droplet nodded. The old string instrument produced miraculous music as light as fairy dreams. The night changed and the air smelled of sweets and magic. "I miss you so much when you're away," Droplet confessed. "I miss you more," Ray said, and both were silent. Books on the shelves of the purple house kept many effective recipes from boredom, melancholy, anxiety, fatigue, stupidity, and pride. But none of them had a word how to make light and water not to be apart. "Do you think anything can change?" Droplet asked and lighted a witch's candle with fir, orange, and basil oil. "Everything is changing." Droplet, of course, meant something different about them, while Ray seemed to thinking about the whole world. Even though it wasn't like that, he just didn't want the long-awaited event to upset beautiful Droplet. "Would you care to dance with me?" Having received the permission, Ray smiled and got his fiancée dancing. "Don't think about anything, just dance." Chapter 2. Oh, those castles in the air. It never works out as expected. The conversation flowed like a river. Ray and Droplet were making plans and were building castles in the air about what times might come, who they could be, where they would fly if they turned into birds. So much wood, so much hope. so much hidden in their tones. Boom, bounce, boom, bounce! The shutter struck, a gust of air suddenly burst into the house, spread napkins, made the candle pop out, and broke down the vase of blooming lavender. Strong hurricane has suddenly begun. Were there snowflakes flying by the window? No way, Droplet whispered, lifting a broken vinyl record. It's not snow time, Ray added. They both figured it out. That's not snow. Ray opened the door and saw their fears confirmed. The wind tore the young leaves down, giving them no chance to ripen. That mustn't be allowed to happen at all costs. However, not a single wind being in its right mind will dare do so. Having dried up, such leaves turn to ash, bringing nightmares and eternal discontent with everything. Droplet grabbed a dish with cheese sandwiches and climbed onto the roof in hoping that uninvited guests would have a treat. "Look, I got something yummy for you!" she screamed. Ray grabbed the raisins and climbed immediately after, but hooked the gallant with his boot and fell into the water. Although he quickly reached the boat, climbed onto the windowsill, then onto the roof, it was too late. "Droplet, where are you?" he shouted, but there was no answer. There was a shiny tray on the colored tiles. Cold silence hung over the young moon. Even the fireflies were in no show. Ray turned around slowly, peering into the dark. "She will always be with me," he said with confidence, and decided to find his Droplet by all means. Ray spread the branches of the lunula, poured spring water on it, and hugged it tightly. That was the most soul-sucking feeling he had ever felt. It became too quiet, inside and out, that his heartbeat was deafening. "I will leave you for a while," he said to Lunula, and went to pack his stuff. Chapter 3. Buddha's Hut. Is there somebody to turn to for an answer, for advice, or face the truth? Everyone knows that fortune tellers are useless because if they are not charlatans, they will speak in riddles or insist on their own understanding of what they see, and we are the ones paying. Ray came to his longtime friend Shaman's car. No one else knows more about the world than he does, because he never even tried to judge, but accepted everything as it is. There are 4 doors in Ska's hut: to the past, to the future, to the present, and to the unrealized. All walls covered with herbs, roots, bags. The floor was covered with carpets, and shelves were filled with clay cups, plates, and painted with a variety of plots. A stork spreads its wings on the ceiling. Ray always thought the bird was enchanted, but Ska claimed it was just a good drawing. "I saw a young moon coming down today," said Ska, offering tea. "I also saw the star dying. It is to the change. To better or worse? It depends on how you think about it." "Help me find my little," Ray asked. Ska threw a handful of stardust into the fire. The fire sparkled. "I will do whatever I can," he answered, and sang a wonderful song. He sang as long as Ray's anxiety and bad premonitions went away, only confidence remained. Ska fell silent after a while. He rose his eyes and looked through his friend. "Your guest was not a simple wind, it was Badger, the lord of dark desires, the one who replaces real dreams with empty ones at night, who mixes friends with enemies. And he turns teachers into windbags. He took her away out of his meanness. For no reason, just because he could do it, but she is no longer with him. Where is she now? Find Badger, he'll tell you." "Ding dong, ding dong!" Small bells suddenly sang. Scott turned into a bird, and the hut faded away. Ray found himself alone on a suspension bridge in the middle of the icy ocean. It was the first night he was about to spend out of his house. Chapter 4. Fortune favors the brave. Ray was skating on the sloping waves. It smelled like salt. The splashes spread beautifully right and left, but they couldn't get even the edge of Ray's pants wet. He was almost flying to get Badger's dwelling. The mountains were already visible. There would be a forest behind them, and then right up to the Badger. A huge purple wave rose up to the sky ahead. It was a sign of luck. Ray waved his hand as if they had known each other for 1,000 years. 3 birds were sitting on the shore and singing a simple cheerful song. Sand pours on the wings, then pours on the tail, and a honeymoon covers with stardust. I would spread it on the nose. He ran past and they got attached. What are you looking for here? What do you want here? They chirped in vain. I'm looking for a navel-speared badger, Ray answered. What is for? Why? He stole the thing I care about most. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. The birds sang and flew in different directions. What stupid ones, he said and sped on. At the top of the mountains, the whole world seems to be an open book. The thoughts are completely different there from the usual ones. The head becomes light and only the heartbeat is heard. Ray broke off a big piece of pie and left it on the snow near the big boulder. I bow to you, the keeper of the mountains, for being allowed to come safely. Don't refuse a treat. Ray bowed on 4 sides. There was no pine next to the stone, which meant the keeper accepted the demand. Hurry up, he thought, got on his backpack and rolled like on a sleigh. Ray stopped by the forest. The place was full of beauty. The air was humid and fresh. The place where sounds play, streams murmuring, birds chattering, monkeys cheer, the leaves swaying in the wind. Ray bowed to the forest master and offered him a piece of the pie. The trail became straight. The plants drifted apart by themselves so as not to offend the guest. Soon Ray thought and sped up. Chapter 5. Last handful of sunflower seeds. At the Great Falls there is a bleak whirlpool. A hut is built nearby, and in that hut there is a passage in the floor leading to a maze of large and small tunnels. The maze is full of gems. Golden nuggets are hidden in the corners. Badger lives in those tunnels. He is often bored, and being bored he confuses and bars the ways. Ruins plans to everyone whom he manages to appear in a dream. The day before, having got pretty bored, he decided to fly around the world to blow the cobwebs away. He was fed up with cities full of adventures, so that the choice turned next to the vast of the ocean. When the demon saw a boat, he was nearly about to sink it, but decided to look into the window first. Badger couldn't stand funny music playing without his order. The thing drove him mad, and he turned into a hurricane. Droplet screamed when he began to shake the tree. No sooner he had caught sight of Droplet than he decided to take her in hand. But it wasn't to be. He grabbed her, rushed that the air was whistling, and though to lock her up in the chambers, exchanged for a piece of the crescent so that to illuminate his tunnels. While on the way Droplet melted. Badger had only water left in his hands. He stopped over the black whirlpool and shook the water off his palms in the very middle. Neither me nor anyone, he thought with annoyance, and laughed. That even by chance, but Nasty had made. As soon as another night came, the demon got out and sat down at the hut, nibbling sunflower seeds and meditating, even though not noticing Ray. Are you Badger? Depends on who I am for. Badger smirked without raising his eyes. His grey mustache hung up to the shoulders, faded blue cloth, shaded red eyes, dozens of beads shone in his clotted hair. Give me back what you have stolen, demanded Ray. What I took, then, it can be yours, said the evil spirit, and, clicking his fingers, turned into Droplet. Where have you been for so long? Ray glowed with the cold, harsh light. Badger stood up and couldn't move anymore, as if his legs had rooted to the ground. His fingers were like lead. "I don't have her." Badger raised his voice, persisting a little. He told the whole deal. The joke fell flat. It happens to everyone. He tried to ingratiate himself. Ray took it so hard that drowned Badger in the black whirlpool. When looking at the damned whirlpool, Ray was coming into a fury more and more. "How could you take something that doesn't belong to you?" Ray screamed and burned every last drop of black whirlpool. Steam rose to the sky. Everything was silent. Ray's lips were cracked. His hands were down. There was no light alive left. Chapter 6. The End. The heart, unable to contain all the grief, pulls it all over the other organs in order to somehow continue to fulfill its destiny. The poison flows through the body, the patience runs out, and then the grief envelops the unhappy on the outside. Only stout of heart can find a cure. Ray sat on a rock. Bitter tears ran down his cheeks. The clouds gathered overhead. It got dark. Ray didn't notice it. He became completely see-through, and nothing else interested him in the whole world. Everything was over. It thundered. Lightning burned the space through. Rain poured in. The clothes were wet. Water flowed down the hair. Ray cupped his hands and remembered his droplet. He couldn't help thinking of Droplet, their meetings and breakups, their dreams and promises. Water flowed from the palms of his hands. Endless loneliness pierced Ray's heart. Beyond that, nothing will and can be. The rain was drowning the valley. Ray was sitting on a water surface, shining as if nothing had happened. "Whose are you now, ocean?" said Ray, and remembered the purple veil that was supposed to herald fortune and became a symbol of a great trouble. "Droplet," shouted hopeless Ray, "I love you here. I love you with all my heart. I love every moment. I love." All of a sudden his voice breaks, his light began to fade. Clear fingers held water falling from the sky. The young moon darkened, the shadows rolled from the corners and holes. The pale world was about to descend into the darkest, pitch-black night. Suddenly Ray's palms warmed. The water rubbed in them, and Droplet appeared from it little by little. His Droplet! Ray cuddled her, not understanding. Was he dreaming or awake? "I am the water," she said tenderly, snuggling with her lips to Ray's ear. "Water doesn't die." "The light dies if there is no one to shine," he replied. Stay with me now, stay with me forever. I will shine for you." The lovers joined in arms and everything fell into place, but something still changed for the better. The lilac whale found a friend. The vinyl that had been broken by the wind laid out like a new one in its box, and since then there has been a moonlit path. At the top of it there is a hut. Ray and Droplet live there now, eating eclairs, listening to old records, drinking berry tea, and making miracles. When a crescent goes down to wash, the lovers get into a purple house on a garland, light a fire in the fireplace, so that white smoke can spread throughout the world and cure its inhabitants.